prices they're charging.
Just make it last.
Make it work.
We're happy to do whatever, seriously.
Okay.
Whatever works for y'all.
Okay.
You're rolling your eyes.
No, I'm just like, yeah, but I do what he says do, so.
It's been a long day. Yeah.
It's been a long week.
It's been a long month.
Today's
so
Monday.
far.
Yeah, but
They changed it.
I'm going back to
I read
last
through
week.
that
Oh,
thing. Lord.
The
We,
proposal?
we worked yesterday though, we were
I
up there trying to
figured the
figure out
work was
budget
done.
amendment, excuse me.
Yeah, I figured the work was done.
Yeah, well, you know what's interesting is I checked with Tracy Bagley, you haven't met Tracy yet, but she's head of our claims department. And I said, I'm just curious, how much time do you think your team spends on Homewood?
Hmm.
I mean, I was just wondering, because there's, I think, 8 people, and she said probably 30%.
God. JJ, I want you.
But that's good, I mean, that's, you
Yeah.
know,
There is,
Lord.
I just want you to address this in a way. We have the agenda about.
Hey, JJ.
oh, the
The
clinic.
Octave Clinic.
The Octave,
Yeah.
mhm.
Explain to everyone when you talk about how Tracy and Cobb's Island and the travelers occupational, well, the claims reps, they're the ones that are pushing the employees to get back to work. They're the ones that put that into play. It's not necessarily the Octave Clinic.
Right, well, we can do what we can do, but Tracy has historically said that, Romeo has done a better job historically in getting people back to work than the current. But she said they're doing better, I think now that they got wind.
Barely, what you doing?
Hey,
Oh,
y'all
yeah.
might be moving, you know, I think they've improved a little bit.
Yeah, I need to.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thanks.
Let's go ahead and open the bids.
Get out of your way, I'm sorry. I got your seat and I'll go across the way.
Yeah, don't.
Are you-
I can't get your, did you get your stuff Saturday?
Oh, you know, we went up there,
Mhm.
they didn't have what I needed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm like, no, it's there.
Uh-huh.
And I was gonna ask you, so,
You graphics there, Brian.
This is your chair. This,
You don't have my name on
You're
it.
not putting me in that
It's a
one.
new year, new graphics. Hey.
That's the midget chair.
Um,
If you don't want to be grabbed.
if I buy stuff like at Floor Decor and More,
Uh-huh.
I keep saying that name. Your floor guy, like, would he pick it up for me?
Possibly.
What would I need to do? Should I start with him first?
Who?
The Ratliff guy.
Bill Ratliff?
Yeah.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, you could,
like call him and just see like if he has availability
Mhm.
and.
yeah, he's one of those people, he is a very, 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 very nice guy.
Yeah.
But he would, if you met him in the alley on Friday night,
I would walk the other way.
yeah.
That's okay.
But he's a super nice guy.
Yeah, no, that
He's
doesn't,
done work for me for years.
that does not bother me at all.
Okay, let's go ahead and open the
Okay.
bids for the signs.
Oh, gosh, we're just
Yeah,
opening
it's
the
a bid
bids.
opening
Yeah.
right now.
Oh, I thought it was at 4:30.
No, it's 4:45.
Oh, okay, sorry. Oh, they were due in at 4:30.
Yeah.
Got it,
We
sorry.
open at 4:45.
Sorry.
Who's the first one, Randy?
It's gonna be Industries.
You want me to make a copy so you can get you a copy and just keep that original?
$1,500 plus. Yeah, we find that, quote that they.
Resolution to.
I'm not seeing a freight amount.
Oh my goodness.
And that's why that same language is.
I'm tired.
I mean, he's live, he's recovering.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Do we have programs? I may have to run back to work.
Do Randy say he can make a recommendation?
He said he would.
Yeah, I don't make fun of my glasses. This is all I got to see with.
It's like a ladies' thing.
Yeah, that's where I
Okay.
got.
All right, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order.
All right, Finance Committee meeting on January the 23rd. Dr. Jones?
Here.
Counselor Gwaltney? Is he here? Counselor Holman? Counselor Smith,
Here.
and Counselor Harden. Is
All right,
Harden?
great.
Is Harden here?
No.
So
Yeah.
Gwaltney and Harden absent.
Okay.
So you got quorum, but just barely 3.
All right, wonderful. Yeah, we have a lot tonight, so that's why I wanted to get started. Is there a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes
So moved.
and approval? January 3rd, okay. Moved by Counselor Smith, second by Counselor Alderman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed by the same time. 3-0, that passes. Let's go through old business, and then I'm going to take 090123 out of order because they're here. At old business 250417, request for consideration of 18th Street revitalization project. Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir. So, I talked to Talon today. He's the CE&I representative for GMC. We're still waiting on Telco to do the AT&T connections at Valley. Once they do that, Bowles is going to have 7 days to remobilize. And then they're still waiting on the electrical contractor supplier for materials for the Hawk signals. We don't know when they're coming. The Hawk signals are pedestrian pedestal.
Let me double check.
For the crosswalks?
That are going across 18th.
Gotcha.
And then they have left grading and placement of sidewalk and curb and gutter on Valley, drainage structures on Valley, traffic poles and any remaining lighting items along 18th Street, asphalt and striping, and sodding.
The two questions I had, do we need to send a letter to AT&T? This was supposed to take 2 or 3 days when they first told me, and it's been going on over a month.
So the work will take 2 or 3 days. They just can't get them out there.
I know, but I thought they were going out there that it was we told them it was a priority. We were holding up our entire project. Do we need to send them a letter from the mayor, or does Mike need to send them a letter?
We can look into that and see if that would be helpful.
I mean, we're not getting any action at all from AT&T. It's the same report every time. Does anyone have any suggestions?
Where's Andy?
Yeah.
I think I think we can try to put pressure from as many different directions as we can. I mean, it's AT&T. So,
Yeah, they don't care.
There's only.
And it's their sub Telco.
Okay.
Which makes it even more difficult.
Right.
Okay.
But I think I certainly wouldn't be opposed to the mayor,
Okay.
sending something and seeing if we get some movement, but.
JJ, can you ask the mayor to call them and send them a letter? Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah.
No, the second question, is there a reason that the poles are so high? That I had a question, somebody like if you're walking across the street, you're gonna be, even I would be doing this. Is it going on the very top of the pedestrian, crosswalk poles? The ones that are those pedestrian poles?
I don't know which poles you're.
The ones in the middle of the road, the middle of 18th Street.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Is it, and I just can't remember, is it that they hang down? They're sort of
Well, right.
all in the side
Cantilever over
hangs?
the street, right? Yeah. I can go back and look and
They're ugly
figure out the.
currently, and we're trying to convey a beautiful 18th Street streetscape here. And we've got these massive poles in the middle of the thing. I just don't understand that.
Yeah.
As to why we had a design like that.
I'll ask Keith about it and see
Okay.
at what elevation the signals will hang across 18th Street.
I think it's good. No, I agree with you, just looking at them.
Something's not
I
right.
mean, it's not a finished product yet.
Yeah,
so I'm
right.
assuming that there's an explanation for it, but right now they do look a little tall, to me, is what I'm getting.
Yes, okay.
All right.
Those are, any other questions?
That sheet that was provided from the designers to look at?
Yeah, we'll talk to GMC about it.
Yeah, we need to talk to GMC and find that out. But I'd like to get ahead of it before it's a finished project and,
Yeah,
and
before it's
we're looking straight up and getting run over by traffic. Okay, we're gonna, thank you for that report. We'll carry that over, and, Counselor Harden is here. Please make a note of that. You need more time, but do you need more time?
No, I'm good.
Okay, 12/11/22 bid opening was set for tonight at 4:45 for street signs. We had 5 people bidding, and so Mr. Hamley has reviewed those, and it has a recommendation for us.
I'm gonna recommend our lowest bidder was Brandon Industries, and their total came out to be $77,256. Under budget.
What did we budget?
Okay.
90.
90.
I think we're just doing like,
And remember, we broke it up into
Three
three phases, and
but still.
as long as Brandon Industries is okay with the long-term, that does not guarantee that pricing for year 2 and 3, as I understand. Okay.
More than likely change.
But your recommendation is Brandon Industries is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder at $77,656.
77,256.
656.
256.
256. Thank you.
All right, I would make a motion to,
Mr. Chairman, can I ask what the style, if we settle on style, or is that coming, or beautification board getting that?
I think the beautification board is already set up.
Or this citywide?
Yes.
That's exciting.
It's gonna be similar to.
Oh, yeah, that's exciting, you
Yeah.
guys.
We're doing
I'd make-
everything but Hollywood.
I would make a motion, I would make a motion to approve the recommendation for accepting the bid from the lowest responsible and responsible bidding, Brandon Industries, for $77,256.
As long as it comes to Board 5.
Yep, okay, moved by Counselor Smith, second by Counselor Allemon for that recommendation, Brandon Industries. Any other questions, comments? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed by the same sign. That passes 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Hamley. 04/12/22, request for consideration of changes to city's workers' comp occupational medical clinic. Mr. Wyatt.
Yeah, I would ask the committee to table this for a little while. That's going to allow us to look into a few things.
Randy.
And I think we can come back and present options to the committee when we've got a couple of things that we've looked into a little more.
Motion to table.
Second.
Thank you.
Moved by Counselor Smith, second by Counselor Harden. So we will, been motioned and seconded. Any questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. 4-0, that passes. That's now tabled, and we'll look forward to that report. 06/12/22, request for final budget amendments for 21-22 budgets and budget amendments for 22-23 for encumbrances. Mr. Burgett.
The first one that you just received is for the carryover, the encumbrances and outstanding purchase orders at the end of last year. There's one addition that needs to be added. It's going to be from line item 01-09-499301. That's carryover fund balance in the amount of $2,104.50. That's purchase order number 22-3935, and that is to account number 01-15-570-600 fire prevention in the amount of 2104.50.
That's the only one that's not on there.
Where
Yes.
are you taking it? You're taking it from where to?
Taking it from the
Carryover
carryover fund balance and put it in covering fire prevention. Mr. Harden, all these are coming out of carryover fund balance because at the end of last year, the money was rolled back into fund balance, and then we take it back out to cover the outstanding POs. So it's really it's a wash from the prior year's budget. But these are all items that were outstanding or partially receipted or not received at year's end. And then the second item is the budget items, requested to balance all the line items in the budget And this was done, except for one. All these items are done with money that was in the department. It was already budgeted to the department, so it was moved from one item to another to offset any overages that were available at the end of the budget, except for one item, and that is on the third page. It's 0127, and let me do it.
The contractual services.
Contractual services, yeah. The, on 0127, IT contractual services, that money was taken out of carryover fund balance in the amount of $33,750. And as y'all were aware, and I'm glad Margaret Ann's here because she can help us out on this, that was due to our cybersecurity requiring hosted email and the two-factor authentication and taking our financial software hosted. That's where this wasn't budgeted, and this is where that money came from. All other items were budgeted money that was moved to a different line.
So that's the only one.
That is the
was
only
not
one that
budgeted.
is new money, correct.
Carryover, okay. Got to see that. Okay, any questions on both of those?
This is basically just cleaning up the books from
Cleaning up,
last year.
yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, I would make a motion to approve the encumbrances and the cleanup items.
Second. Print it out.
Okay, moved by Counselor Smith, seconded by Counselor Allen, for the amendments and also the encumbrances.
That's fine.
Okay, any questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. 4-0, that passes. Okay,
And can you just make a note, Mr. Kent, can we do those, and it'll be easy for us if we can do them in two different resolutions. We'll have them separate, so we'll just make a note. We'll have the ones for the FY 21-22 as one resolution on his script, and then that's for 22-23, so we'll have two prepared. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, we're going to take out of order 090123, request to consider insurance renewal for both property casualty and workers' comp insurance with Margaret Ann Coburn, who's here to speak to us about this. And any, Alex, you have any opening comments on this, or?
Y'all want a copy?
I'm sorry.
Cobb's Allen?
Oh, yeah. Let me grab some. So we have representatives of Cobb's Allen here. The premiums have gone up, again, because our claims history continues to go up. And so, one tends to follow the other. I don't think it's a situation of anything to do with anything other than the claims history. And they can speak to that a little bit better than I can, but what I think there's really not much to do here other than approve this and move forward. I mean, not having insurance is kind of not an option. And obviously this is a better deal than we're going to get in any other way. So what I think we need to focus on, and we've talked with Cobb's Allen about this, is working on steps to try to prevent the claims in the first place. Any insurance is done over usually a 3-year period, so your claims history, we're going to have to live with this claims history for a while. The point is not trying to get this down, finding the right policy to get this down or something like that.
Your claims history goes for everybody.
Right.
It's up for
and
everybody.
exactly.
Right.
So that's not changing anything. What we have to focus on is the claims and preventing claims in the future. So Cobb's Allen's been good enough to talk with Travelers. There were 3 items that they want to work with us on that we have started working on. One is an accident review procedure. So if there's an accident, you have a committee that this goes to. Mr. Harden is currently working on that with Robert and Melody, so that we will come, and that proposal should be coming before us sometime soon. We also are working on an updated employee handbook for all employees, and then doing new safety orientation for new employees. Those were 3 things specifically that Travelers suggested. we've also been talking with various department heads about other ways to hopefully, again, try to prevent claims from happening in the first place. And if we can do that, then in a matter of years, these numbers will start to come down. And quite frankly, I do think we have some claims that are avoidable that we are not avoiding at the moment. And so if we take some of these steps, I think we will be in a better position 2, 3, 4 years from now. But and so that, I think that's where we need to focus our attention. But I do very much appreciate Cobbs Allen's work in getting this proposal to us because I do think it's a good proposal given our claims history.
I'm assuming this can be targeted though as to, there's probably some units that are making claims more often than others, right?
Absolutely.
And so we could also do like, I mean perhaps we already do more ongoing trainings for existing employees as well.
Correct. I mean, for example, certain departments have more vehicles than other departments, right? So that creates more potential for automobile claims, which is a large source of our claims history. Certain departments have work that is more prone to having on-the-job injuries than other departments, which leads to more workers' comp injuries. So yes, those are some of the things that we are looking at and talking with department heads specifically about things that can hopefully be done in terms of policies, internal policies within those departments that may be helpful.
Is that anything? Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Is that anything where the personnel board could help us in navigating some of that policy? I
love it when somebody says, "Can the personnel board help
personnel
us?"
board to help in the same
I know.
sense.
But we do pay them. I mean, we have an amount we contribute to them, and it would be great if we could find a way where we benefit from that arrangement.
They
I
do,
agree wholeheartedly with that
Yeah, that is a
sentiment.
great
they do have a list of classes that Pete Blank hosts, but I don't, they're more on the citizen, they're more on the supervisory and
They can
HR.
provide, they do some training and that we might be able
It's
to
more
tap
from an
into,
HR
but in
Well, and
terms
we've
of
had
policies.
we've had Pete Kane, didn't he? I can't remember
I
what he
think
did for us. But
the majority of their classes, I think, are computer and training and supervisory training.
Leadership
I don't
and
know that there's
supervisory, yeah.
that much safety, but they do publish a calendar.
Diversity training for the police department.
Do what
yeah,
now?
yeah, they did diversity training for us. Yeah.
Well, I do.
We actually had that for the whole
Ideally,
city
something
too.
like that would be part of the arrangement, but I thought it would just
No.
wonder what our options are.
It's
there.
a good question. I will say that one of the benefits of having Cobbs Allen involved is that they have people that handle this sort of thing too, and we are tapping into their experience. And that's, y'all correct me if I'm wrong here, that's just one of the services that we get as for free as part of our package with them.
Because that's exactly what I want
So
to
that we're
know.
not
is like,
recreating
yeah,
the
But Brian Butler's
and
one.
not incurring additional costs. I mean, it's worth to pay additional for preventative, obviously, but ideally we could tap on anything in kind. That's why I was asking about personnel board, but it's part of their
That was
package,
one of
then
the
that's
reasons
perfect.
that when we
Okay.
did the review a number of years ago and switched to Cobbs Allen, that was one of the benefits
selling point.
of Cobbs Allen versus the other agencies was that they had these sort of resources that came to us just as part of the package.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
And I did ask our claim team, there's 6 of them at our agency, I said, well, how much time do you think your team spends on Homewood every day? And she said about 30%.
Wow.
So, you know, we're trying
much.
to work and get the claims down and those kinds of things. And I do have one statistic that I thought was interesting. Said that out of work days on the work comp policy is actually down from 47 2 years ago to 19. So that's an improvement. So we're making good strides. It's just that we've had a few, you know, outlying severe claims, large ones that kind of hit hard this year.
But I think the market's changed. We've gone
The
from a
market's
soft
changed.
market to a hard market
Absolutely.
in the
And
last
that's
3
on
years.
every single line. I mean, you'll see there's increases in everything because, and that's gonna hit all of y'all on your personal homeowners, your personal auto. I mean, it's, those prices are going up. They really are. So that is the market.
And I sent everything out that you had sent me to the committee, so, I mean, you're welcome to go through whatever you'd like to, or we can take questions, however you want to do it.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all have.
So it doesn't sound like we're that out of, well, it does, and the 30%, I don't really know how that shakes out. But I mean, are our claims a lot higher than comparable communities?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well,
Very.
and it's not attributable to just those couple of long-term things that you're talking about? Or,
No.
I mean, that's I mean, I don't have to know about a lot of specifics, but I mean, that's a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. We have more claims than we should, and a few of the claims are more severe than you hope to have.
Okay.
And so it's a sort of multifaceted issue, I won't call it a problem, but an issue that we hopefully can deal with by implementing more things to be preventative.
Training and.
Yep.
Okay.
As well as things after the accidents occurred, that there's actually a review of it so that, you hopefully can prevent that same accident from happening again in the future.
Who is our workers' comp? Who do y'all?
Everything's for travelers.
Travelers.
It's a $300,000.
It's a lot.
And it's jumping $300,000 next year.
But look at the claims, like if you go down
I did.
I mean, the claims are pretty.
But we also, that's one of the things, not, for the record, not for or against, it's just to say I'm an employee, I'm really for it, but when we give the cost of living increase, your whole payroll's going up, so your workers' comp's paid on a percentage of your payroll.
Sure.
So that's a fringe benefit that you would expect, because when Robert and I did the payroll for them, for the renewal, I looked at it and went, oh my gosh, because it was like scared me for a second, but again, we appreciate the COLA, very much so.
Sure.
But it just makes your workers' comp go up because it's based on payroll costs.
Yeah. So as your payroll goes up, your comp goes up because that's what's determining the award
much
from
they
comp.
get,
And we've also had a few, well, I shouldn't say few, we've had a couple of very severe comp claims.
And Alex, because you're in this world, those, eventually, there's a endpoint at that, or no?
So it depends on the claim.
Right.
And it depends on how long they are, what the injury is and how long I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but how long their vocational disability exists.
Yeah.
So it can last essentially sort of forever until you hit a cap. I think it's kind of complicated, but yeah, they can last a really long time, or they can be short, and it just sort of depends on how their recovery is and how that affects their ability to work that or a similar job moving forward in the future.
And I will say, Barry, just to your point, that's what you're paying us to do, is to try to get those closed within the bounds of the laws and, everything in the work comp world. But we stay on top of those. That's part of that 30% of our team that they spend on Homewood.
On our people. Yeah.
And that was one of the things, I think it came out, it was a little bit confusing to me when it came out on that other issue we talked about the drug testing. I don't know if some of that got blurred. It seemed like in the conversation, but that they were talking about, Fire was talking about that monthly call that we have. That's something that we do with Cobbs Allen and her team, with Robert and all the department heads, police and fire. That was, to me, kind of blended. I didn't understand why. That wasn't something different from the drug testing. But that's what we do with Margaret and with Travelers, to go over every comp claim every month of where we are on it, so that everybody's on the same page.
All the department heads are on, and so they're all aware of what's going on too, so they know the severity of the claims, what's happening, and all that kind of, they know that.
Yeah.
And see if there's some way, like, that one person may be released to not go back to that job, but could go back to another job that somebody else has, if we're all within departments on the same call. So it makes it a lot more communicative than it used to be.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to add too that we have that monthly call, but also every time a city employee visits a doctor, visits a therapist, whatever it is, I get an email. They forward me an email from Tracy Bagley, whomever, what the results were, what the expectation is, what the work restrictions are. I mean, we get many a week, and I forward that specific email to the department head, so they're kept in the loop. There's a lot more to it than just that monthly call. It is every doctor's visit, every occupational therapy visit. Tracy sends an email and said, this is what happened, this is what we're looking for, these are the results, and then I'll forward those to the department heads.
Got it, okay. Well, I would encourage you to kind of read through this. If there are questions, can we reach out
Y'all
to you?
can call me, email me.
Okay, okay.
I do want to point out one thing, just because the premium went up a lot, our fee did not go up, our fee did not change. So you're not paying us anymore, because we're not on commission, we're on a fee, which is, you know, we designed it that way, because
Yeah.
there's no reason for us to get paid more just because the premium goes up.
Is there a motion to be made at this point?
I think the motion is to renew, right?
Yeah, this is
Approve
just
the
a renew.
renewal.
Yeah, this is just
Approve the renewal.
Approve to renew.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the renewal.
I will second that.
Okay, moved by Counselor Allen, second by Counselor Smith for the renewal. Any other questions? And we'll make a note to, I'm gonna have Mr. Sims call the personnel board and see what he can.
But they really
make
do
some
save us
matching
some money on the
happen.
computer training, I promise.
It's so funny, I was having deja vu because I asked that question
Yeah,
about
yeah.
10 years ago.
I think you got the same reaction.
Yeah,
Pretty much,
yeah, okay, in light of that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. We're still at 4-0 there, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Please feel free to call me, email me if you have any questions.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Robert Ann.
Thank y'all. Thanks.
Okay, we're gonna start back up at the top, 010123. Request consideration to declare the following items surplus, and you can see all those dump truck, two dump trucks, Caterpillar backhoe. These are all
There's a
from
list
Gordon
of various
James,
items.
and we, I believe we sent that out, didn't we?
I did not. Melody
Did not.
forwarded it to me, and I just asked, I did not send it out. I apologize.
Got it.
There's a bunch of miscellaneous items
Okay, if you
that are on
can,
that
if you can
sheet.
just send that out.
Yeah, I'm find it.
Send that out so that everybody will at least have that.
All right, I make a motion to declare the items surplus.
Second.
I'll give it to Harden.
Yes,
Counselor
sir.
Smith made the motion and Counselor Harden
Make sure you
seconded
send Mr.
that.
Kendrick, please. for the
All in favor say aye.
ordinance.
Aye.
All opposed by the
Okay.
same sign, 4-0. Okay, get your thinking caps on here. 020123 and 030123 kind of go together. So we sent out, Mr. Smith sent out a description and a explanation. So could you provide that for us, and I guess we'll have to take them each separately.
Sure.
So 0201 is amend contract with CB&A Construction, and this is all, both of these are from Mecca.
Is that shown at the top there? I see it.
Yeah, so it's not showing the visual of the PDF at the bottom, but it may not matter, because I can explain in words.
Just tell me through.
So this is along Mecca Avenue sidewalk. If you remember, we did this job back in the fall, and before we bid it, the engineer and myself walked along Mecca with all the homeowners who would be affected by this project. And when we got here to this house, the homeowner said, first of all, this is the only place on the street where we'll have to put in a small retaining wall. And the homeowner said, I don't really like the retaining wall that you're gonna put in, I'd like to put in something nicer. And I said,
Nicer.
well, the city's not gonna do that. And so, what we did was, we bid a unit item for the retaining wall that the city would put in, and the cost of that unit price was $14,000. And so what we'd like to do at this point is to take the $14,000 out of the sidewalk contractor's contract and move $14,000, give it to Twin, who's gonna do a home renovation here and build the nicer retaining wall, which is gonna be above $14,000. The homeowner will pay the rest.
And do we need to, how do we guarantee that what's gonna be done there is up to our standards and all those fun
They have
things?
to have a permit.
Okay.
So I have to get a permit, yeah.
I mean, I know what their plans are, I just wanna make sure that we're happy with what's done.
Right, sure. So they're gonna put a veneer on it, on a stacked wall. They're gonna do it all at the same time when we're building the sidewalk here.
Okay.
Our contractor and Twin have already coordinated.
And you'll inspect it to make sure that it's gonna be nicer, it's gonna be probably higher quality.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's gonna be nicer. It's gonna appear nicer, for sure.
It's gonna look all nice.
They've gone above and beyond the call of duty, working with these residents, and we really appreciate it.
So, exactly, and this is no new money, this is really taking that 14,000 from that contract and sending that to Twin, or
Right,
transferring
giving
that to
a
Twin.
new contract with.
A new contract to Twin so they can put it in their budget for that retained. That's right. Okay.
All right, well, so we're gonna make, these
I
are
guess,
two
yeah, I guess
separate
on,
motions,
yeah,
right?
let's make the motion.
Two resolutions.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
two
so, yeah,
resolutions,
okay.
so 0201 would
then
be-
I would make a motion that we approve, removing the $14,000 from the sidewalk budget and transferring that to Twin Construction to construct a different wall.
Okay, so your first motion for 020123 is to amend the contract with CB&A in the amount of 14,000.
Yeah,
So that's your
yes.
first.
That is my
motion.
first, indeed, my first
Second.
motion.
Okay. Smith and Harden made the motion on that, second on that. Okay, so let's vote on that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign, that's 4-0, that
And then
passes.
I would make a motion for the mayor to sign a contract with Twin Construction to construct the wall in conjunction with our
In the
sidewalk.
amount of 14,000.
Is that for the next item?
Yes, yeah, the 0301.
Will we need an indemnification agreement?
I don't, since it's part of our,
No.
No.
since it's part of our sidewalk.
Yeah, no, we don't.
So, just a second.
Okay.
Okay, moved by
Good
Counselor
question.
Smith, second by Counselor Alomar. For that, okay, any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign, passes 4-0. Thank you for that, you didn't make it confusing, so I appreciate that. 070123, request for consideration of removing trees on Valley that arborist has marked as declining. Mr. Squires.
Yes, and I meant to send y'all. Brant worked with us a while back, and these are, we've got, if y'all, most of you have been along Valley, we've got a great number of trees in the right of way that have hit their life expectancy. We've had several drop, speaking of things, drop limbs, cars, pretty good size on cars and all that. So we have gone through and identified the ones that are on there that need to be taken out. So,
How many total?
I think there's 9 total. Yeah, I think there was one we were kind of.
Iffy about?
Yeah.
And those are in front of the townhouses?
Yes.
Primarily? Yeah.
Yep.
And on that, I mean, some of them might be prudent to prolong them, but again, it kind of goes to the
Yeah.
assumed risk and what the city's willing to take on as liability.
Are we replanting any trees?
So you're
We're-
thinking about, excuse me,
Go ahead.
doing all of them at once?
Yes, it's cheaper for us to get them done at one time. If we go ahead and knock them out, and yes, to answer your question, we're gonna come back in and replant.
Are all these in the right of way?
Yes. There's quite a few that aren't, and then there's quite a few that are, so.
They're not only in the right of way, they're around parking
Yeah.
and creating unsafe conditions where
They
cars are
busted
parked,
some of the sidewalks
pedestrians
up,
are walking.
curbing, and there's just a lot of issues along through there with a lot of those, so.
Will any of this add any parking? No.
Most of them are in, like, the
But it will
islands
help
or
the
close to
sidewalks that are being
sidewalks,
bumped
yeah.
up.
And they busted up the majority of some of the sidewalks, because it'll give us a chance to come in and fix some of those that have
Got
been,
it, okay.
you know,
Do
in
you,
pretty bad
do
shape.
you think we will repair sidewalks?
The ones that are our, along in there, we will, not the ones that they drive over and park on.
That's a year, I think that may be a conversation for
Yeah.
the improvement project down the road.
Yeah, I mean, along in there, but they park on, and bust, a lot of that's done by tenants that are parking on
Old-
sidewalks that,
Old and
yeah.
passed out.
It's a condition that wasn't meant to do what it's.
Yeah, that's right. So,
I think this is part of the tree line item, right?
Yeah,
This-
where
this
is
is
this
budgeted
coming out of the
money, right?
budget?
yeah, I'm just gonna take it out of that,
Tree.
yeah, I mean,
Taking out contractual
yeah.
services?
Well, we did more this year, but it, you know.
The magic tree fund.
It's
Is
gonna,
it
you
contractual
know.
services? Is that what it's?
Yeah, it's in contractual.
Is
I'll
it
take it
be-
out of it, but I'll probably have to come back later.
You're talking about at 120? Is that what it is?
Something like that. Yeah.
Do other than fund it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the money, I just wanted to, I didn't want it to go, I mean, with that many coming down, I didn't want you guys to be, I prefer to come and make sure you guys are good with it before we move forward.
And you don't have an amount?
You know, it's 38,000.
What do we have, 150?
Not as bad as
No, I think we went to 100 this year.
Yeah, we,
Finally.
Okay.
We've been at 40 for years.
So the request is
Past that
to.
yeah,
for
we
2
kind
months.
of figured that wasn't gonna work.
So,
Okay, so the request is to approve the removing of the trees on Valley that are are declining at, under contractual services for $38,000.
And I assume that when Grace, who I assume is gonna be who does it, when they get in there, if they find a tree that they think, oh, well, we can take limbs off and
Yeah.
make this work, they'll do that instead of taking down.
Jamie will be over there, so
He'll
he'll
be with
kind
them.
of,
Okay.
there's, I think Ram identified, there's one or two that probably can be limbed this go
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Councilman
And
Smith,
we'll
with
just kind
that,
of watch
the
it.
longer it's left, it puts danger not only
Yeah.
to pedestrians and vehicles,
Right.
but also the climber who has to cut it.
Yeah.
So it's just, they're
probably
all,
safer and-
Yeah, I know, I drive by there and I
Yeah.
think, that's not good.
it's just kind of one that we've been kind of holding as long as we can. We've kind of
Okay.
hit that point, so. But I didn't want to, that's one of those I just prefer you guys take a look at, make sure you're good. before
Can
we
I
go.
ask real quick?
Hold on one second.
About the plan, oh, did you?
Oh, just
tell
hold
me
on one
all
second. Mr. Kendrick had something.
Is there something you need from me, technically, legally, there's nothing required the city?
Procedurally, I don't think we need a resolution.
No, I just- like I said-
It's an FYI,
Yeah.
but I think approval would be appropriate.
Yeah, I would just, when we do that many and somewhere like that, I prefer you guys.
You want us just to put that on the
be okay
consent
with-
agenda then, so we don't have to really have a resolution or anything?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, and Ms. Gear, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, do we have a plan yet for replanting? Would that be next fall, or do we have any idea yet?
Right now, Fletcher and I are working on that.
Okay, thank
To
you.
decide what we're gonna do moving forward. Because I think that may come into play with the money we have for some of the tree planting that we have,
Yeah.
that we never get to use, because we can't get anybody to bid. So I may ask you guys to let me use some of that to replant some of those, because I got this one this go round, and then over in Wildwood North,
Yeah.
some of those old raft pears and stuff that are falling everywhere and all that. So this one was priority because of the safety issues that it's become.
We're communicating all this with the owner over there who. that
Yeah,
guy that
we've
owns-
already talked with them about it.
Okay.
And they actually approached me about it again last year and again at the start of this year.
All right, so the motion is to approve the work, but then it also this doesn't need to go to full council. There's no full count, or does?
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
prefer
We
you
just,
guys
we just don't
take
need a
it. I just-
resolution. We're just gonna approve him to use it.
I'm just gonna take it,
in the budget.
I've got that money in
So
there.
we'll put it on the consent agenda, y'all just
It'll
approve
be
it
on the
Okay.
consent agenda.
Oh, yeah, we'll approve the consent
Contractual
agenda. Okay.
services,
All right.
38,000.
Yeah, okay, so motion to approve.
Thank y'all.
Okay, Counselor Smith, Counselor Alderman seconded that. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. Passes 4-0. Sorry, I should have done yours earlier. Sorry about that. You were hanging out there waiting. 801-23, request to authorize the mayor to sign contract with Gossett Construction to repair storm pipe at 1604 Mountain Gap Circle. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, so this has been going on for, well, since I've been here. There's a storm pipe that goes from Mountain Gap Circle underneath this guy's driveway into an inlet in his
We've
backyard.
seen video on this. I
Oh,
remember
yeah.
it, too.
There, we've had video
Several times.
Yep, of this.
Yeah.
He's worried about his foundation cracking in his basement. Walls are being compromised. We can't really confirm that that's the issue of the pipe, but the pipe is in terrible shape, and the joints are so offset from each other that trenchless technology is not impossible, like lining it or doing anything like that. So we have to excavate and replace the pipe. Public Works got a price, and I got a price, and Public Works' price was cheaper, more economical. So that's who I proposed to go with. And since it's coming from the ARPA fund, we brought it here.
So your recommendation is to authorize mayor to sign the contract for $42,500 coming out of the ARPA funds.
That's correct.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
Counselor Alderman made the motion. Second by Counselor Hart.
Do we have an amount? Did he tell us an amount? I just missed it.
42. Then we have,
Okay, any other questions? Yeah, we've been talking about this for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're, okay. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. That passes 4-0. Did I miss anything? Nope. Adjourned.
Walter, you did one second.
I wouldn't say she's got 40 minutes.
Somebody needs to do it.
Andrew, were you asked to do public safety?
No, but that's fine.
Well, it's just my item, and I don't really have any, I mean, I have just one little thing to add, but nothing.
We don't have public works.
Yeah, the amendment.
Okay. Public safety is up next.
All right, public safety, who's sharing?
Walter.
Dr. Jones is sharing, okay? Counselor Gwaltney, Counselor Wolverton.
Here.
Counselor Jones.
Here.
Counselor Nelms. Here. Counselor Harden.
Here.
All right, so you just have the chair absent, but you have a quorum.
Okay. Is there a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes for January 3rd?
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved by Counselor Harden, second by Counselor Wolverton. Any other questions on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, by the same sign. 4-0, that passes. And we've got one item, 07-12-22, request for consideration of no parking ordinance during carpool, school drop-off, and pickup hours on Point Sienna. Do we have anything additional?
Well, Counselor Waltney was gonna reach out to the school system. Alex, do you know if Andy reached out to Merrick about the parking during carpool?
If he did not relay it to me.
Okay, the only thing I would add is that somebody from the school told me that they sort of have an adversarial relationship with this one particular house that has been stacking the cars up, that they complained about the noise from the field during PE, and when school said that they weren't gonna turn the music down, they started opening their car doors and making it even more difficult to drive by. So anyway, so that's the only thing I have to share on that update. And I don't know if Andy's talked to Merrick or not, that's all I know, so.
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
Okay, so we'll just
Okay.
carry that over.
So we'll
I just
carry
wanna
this
add
over and hopefully get it resolved. So without objection, we'll carry that over. And anything else we need to take off the table? Hearing none, we're adjourned.
Nice work.
Thank you, Walter, for doing that.
Hey, President, on the insurance renewal, we're gonna put that on the consent agenda too, or we're gonna need a resolution for that?
I think you need a resolution.
We need him authorized to renew it? Okay. All right, special issues?
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Yeah, okay, we're good.
Okay, special issues for January the 23rd, Counselor Smith.
Here.
Counselor Gear.
Here.
Counselor Alomon.
You had to leave.
Yeah.
Huh?
You had to leave.
Oh, okay, Counselor Sims.
Present.
And Counselor Andrus.
Here.
So we just have Alomon absent.
Yep.
So you have a quorum.
Could I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes that were sent to us and approve them?
So moved. Second.
All right, motion from Ms. Gear, second from Ms. Andrus. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's 4-0. Okay, and we don't have any old business. We have we have one new item and then we're bringing one off the table. I'm gonna go with this one first. 10-01-23, request to consider the use of Soho Plaza for the Homewood Athletic Foundation's annual cornhole tournament. Aaron, Yost?
Aaron and Jeremy are back there.
Oh, they're back there. Hey guys, come on up. I thought I saw y'all back there, but I couldn't reach around the corner. Do they need to sign in? All right, y'all tell us what I think everybody's familiar with the cornhole tournament that y'all been doing over in West Homewood, but why don't y'all give us
Sure. No, for those who don't know me, I'm Jeremy Bernstein. I'm the president of the Athletic Foundation.
Jeremy
Signed in-
Bernstein, I'm sorry.
Bernstein, yes ma'am. This
Facebook?
is Erin Yost, BERNSTEIN. And Erin's on the board, and she is running with cornhole this year. For those who don't know, Homewood Athletic Foundation, we support and enhance Homewood athletics at the high school and middle school. We do this through grant giving and also through community support through our athletic club. Cornhole is my favorite event. It's our biggest fundraiser. It's our 7th year. I'm going to pass this one over to Erin and let her take it from there.
Yeah, so this year we were looking to do something a little bit different and start to grow. So we're requesting to use Soho Plaza for our cornhole tournament this year. The date is set for Sunday, March 19th at 1 p.m. We plan on going until about 5 or 6. It's quite a big event. I've got 16 boards rented, so we'll need the whole space pretty much. I met with Taylor Hughes, owner of Soho Social, this summer. He is on board. He is excited about it. And now he's got both restaurants open, so he's gonna be helping us with food and drinks. He is handling all of the alcohol, so everything's going through him, so we won't be selling it or serving it, so that way it's, he's doing all that. So, we're anticipating 200 to 300 people, to be there as far as playing and watching and hanging out.
All right,
What's the date again, please?
Sunday, March 19th.
and I think Sundays are generally pretty quiet around here.
We need to get our special events.
Yes, sir.
So this is the
He's
annual
selling it through
event
the
where
restaurant.
he's
my
selling-
son gets angry at me because I let him down on the
Yeah.
team. Yeah, it's
No,
terrible.
they have to have a special event.
Oh, just,
To get it outside the restaurants, he has to have a special event.
okay, but the entertainment district is,
You can carry it in the entertainment district, but you can't distribute it within.
if he's selling it on the plaza.
Correct.
Oh,
And you need a
okay.
special event
So there- he's
program.
not gonna be
But
like the
he's
old days.
handling that.
Yeah.
Okay,
He'll
like
do
the
it.
old days.
I think that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Right,
Tim?
buying it here,
Okay.
walking over here.
I hear he's got some, so.
So 3 cents out there too?
Yeah.
Since we're covering paperwork, I'll add, we already have the insurance, we're just waiting for the certificate of liability insurance for up to $1 million. We're just waiting on the certificate coming.
Okay. All right, does anybody else have any questions?
No, it sounds exciting. I would move to approve.
All right, motion to approve from Ms. Andrus.
Second.
Second from Mr. Sims. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
4-0. That is passed. Thank y'all very much. We appreciate y'all coming. And Ms. Gear, do you want to take your item off the table?
Yes, if we could take item 170522, request to consider revisions to the membership structure of the Arts Advisory Council off the table, please.
All right, motion from Ms. Gear to take that item off the table.
Second.
Second from Mr. Sims. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, 4-0. That is now off the table and on the agenda. All right, and I actually have, and I hope these are the latest version. Here they are. Here's, do you need this one for the, or you have one?
I have one.
Yeah. All right, so these are in fact the bylaws, and Ms. Gear, you want to give us the highlights as to what's really changing? Because I know there's really kind of
Yes.
just a smaller part. that's
Yes,
changing.
absolutely. So basically, the Arts Council was having, a little bit of trouble having enough folks participating at their events. They currently have a total of 8 members, 5, 1 from each ward, and 3 at large. So they wanted to add a couple more at large, just to give them a little leeway when they need folks to show up at special events. They'll have plenty of people, hands on deck. And they took this opportunity to kind of beef up their responsibilities for members and officers with this addition or revision, and that's really the main thing they've done here. So we're still one member from each ward, and from 3 to 5 at-large members.
Okay, all right, that's pretty straightforward. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Mike?
We don't approve their bylaws.
So what we're doing is we are
That's the one we don't approve,
we're asking for an amendment to the resolution to
Creates it.
that created
Okay.
it.
Expand the membership.
Okay, so we're basically adjusting the membership.
Up from their
and that's it.
original.
Okay, all right.
document.
Okay, so that would be
Founding
the
document.
motion then to make that change.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to say that we have a motion from Ms. Gear to make that change to those, to the membership portion of the resolution that establishes the Arts Advisory Council.
Second.
Second from Mr. Sims. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 4-0. All right, those changes are approved. And is there anything else on the table that anybody wants to deal with? Or if not, I'm not hearing anything. We are adjourned.
Thanks.
He didn't let us know.
He did say, he did last week, he mentioned it, but
So
then
still with.
he wasn't sure.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Well, last week was a text, and so he was
But
going
it says
to
it's
for sure. And then we never heard that word, and then
Are you?
Yeah,
I will say this caveat that, I'm behind on sending out there's a lot of
Okay.
emails that have come through.
Great. Do you have a total number? Well, we'll talk about it when we get to it.
No, but I have a
Okay.
ton to still send to you before
Excellent.
Monday night's public hearing.
Okay.
But I knew it was
I've got
important that
more
you had
on the
time
list.
before Monday, but I've
Okay.
been trying to send them as I get them, but they're coming in faster than I can send them out.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know that, so.
Thank you. Appreciate
Okay, I didn't want somebody to say that they'd send them and you realize I forgot something to send you
Sure,
before I go
okay.
home tonight.
Yep.
All right, so planning and development on January 23rd, Counselor Andress.
Here.
Counselor Gwaltney. Counselor Wolverton.
Here.
Counselor Sims.
Here.
And Counselor Nails.
Here.
So Counselor Gwaltney's absent, but you have 4 present, so you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I will begin with a motion to dispense with the reading and approve the minutes from our last meeting. So moved. Okay, motion from Counselor Wolverton, second from Counselor Nelms. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes 4-0. Okay, old business 10/12/22, public hearing set for January 30th, 2023 at 6 p.m. for consideration to rezone 3101 Overton Drive from NPD Neighborhood Preservation District to an R7 attached dwelling unit district. The applicant is Virginia Allen to permit the construction of a 4-unit townhouse development. The Planning Commission had a vote of 0 to 7 for an unfavorable recommendation. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Councilor Andrews. So, Ms. Allen couldn't be here tonight, but Jamie Shransky is the architect and Sarah Powell are on their way up. Okay. And so I'm gonna turn it over to them.
Okay, if you will first sign in, please.
Sure.
He went to get a clipboard.
Oh, he did, okay.
You said
And-
I'm sorry, you're the landscape architect?
No, he's the architect.
The architect.
The architect.
James, James, Saransky, Sransky, Digital and Associates.
And James, what we're gonna do tonight is just sort of a truncated version of what we'll do next week at the public hearing. So if you'll take 20 minutes.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna give the other side 20 minutes as well.
Okay.
So-
You go ahead and start if you want. He's gonna bring the thing, you can sign it when you get through talking.
Okay.
I can have that as a pointer to point it to.
Oh, nice. All right, thank you. As stated, I'm James Saransky. I'm the architect that Jenny Allen approached to help her with this project, present this project. And I think I heard Kel explain why Jenny's not here to present herself tonight. She contracted COVID into last week, and her doctor recommended, even though she was outside that window, and she just didn't feel safe being here due to doctor's orders, basically. Anyway, all this map is taken from the City of Homewood zoning map. This is the said property. Jenny's current home, the residence is 3101. I was just gonna explain and orient everybody. This is Piggly Wiggly down here at the corner. And everybody knows Oxmoor Road. So as you traverse down Oxmoor Road, you've got C2, you've got C1, you have this R7, all this is C1. This is a mixed-use development, Hallman Hill, and that's, I'm not really sure what that building is, but there's this Shell station there.
The Bell South.
It's the Bell South building.
Shell South building, okay. And then this is OLS down at this opposite end over here. Or OLS's properties kind of meander through here. So, for just starters, I mean, and I just wanted to point out too a couple other things. What we're requesting is a residential reclassification of this property. We're not looking to make this into a commercial property. It's kind of a transition space that I think this city can value and appreciate. Coming from commercial directly into residential, you know, is kind of abrupt because there is a higher level of density that can be built into a commercial zone property than a residential property. And R7 is restricted to the same height limitations as NPD is. So with that being said, this development right here is an R7. It's really the only shared property line with this particular development that's here. Even across the road, there's an undeveloped little small portion of property here. And then when you see all that encounters her property currently is Crescent Avenue from all the way down here at the Village Mall, which is a C1, C2, and then you traverse that entire length of Crescent, it's all commercial, and it dies into her property. I think it's a rather unique piece of property in the sense that I can't think of one other property that has a commercial street, basically, that dies into a residential home, a single-family home. And I don't know of any other NPD properties that back up basically 5 residences on one piece of property. So again, she is somewhat penalized because of that, in the sense that I've heard the term spot zoning or spot development. If anything, that definition that when I looked it up to kind of make sure I was understanding it properly, the definition that I came across is the zoning of a small, irregularly shaped parcel of land differently from the zoning of the surrounding land. So the way I interpret that, the surrounding land is commercial, R7, and then, I mean, a lot of people here tonight are probably going to say, well, it's NPD because it looks like us. It kind of functions like us currently, but we're here about planning. When you're planning something, it's not about the house, it's not about the building, because buildings do change and evolve over time, but what is the city? What would the city do? What does this mean to the city? Because it is part of Oxmoor Road and part of this development that they have a future plan for, I'm sure. Again, I'm just presenting that as an option because this was given, some treatment of being able to be developed as R7. This was. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with those developments. I think that those are valuable to this type of neighborhood. This neighborhood, people can live in these areas that can't maintain a single-family home, do not necessarily have kids in the school system, or a smaller retiree of sorts that just needs a smaller yard to maintain, but wants access to their neighbors, access to their friends, and access to the community that they lived in. And that's what we're trying to develop, hoping to develop here. Keep in mind, we're asking for 4 units on this property. This has 11 units. This one has 8 units. This one has 5 units. And there's some others sprinkled in the overall master plan of Homewood, or the current zoning of Homewood. So I don't think we're overstretching in terms of asking for an R7. R7 is residential, might I add. It's a transitionary space that I think makes for a good community. That may be in my opinion alone in this building tonight, but that's just how I see it. I know there was a lot of questions and concerns of the neighborhood. There were a lot of letters that were written to the city, so I was going to try to address some of those briefly as much as I could. I didn't have to read the letters. Jenny read them and relayed to me what she felt were important issues that everybody had.
Well, you might not mean to interrupt you, but this is an entirely different body, and so a lot of people haven't seen the original plan. So if you want to share those, I know that some of it got sent out to the committee, but
well, last time we can go on to the next slide. I limited it to 4 slides tonight because development itself. The last time we presented, Jenny and myself, we were told that they really didn't care what it looked like. This was more about the zoning. This was more about the reclassification of basically this property. And so maybe we overstepped in what we thought people would want to see, elevations, what it might look like, and all those sort of things. So we've excluded those tonight for that very reason, is because I felt like maybe that was putting the cart before the horse. If people want to see it, we can go backwards to that, but I think that there's a lot more background here that probably needs to be explained ahead of time. But one of the things that was presented this is what we're proposing. Basically, a 4-unit property. This looks like this is a separate unit, but these are attached as one unit. It's a larger because it's a corner unit. The density of this is more than an NPD project, but so is commercial, so is a lot of other things to help transition to this residential unit. You can see we've incorporated landscaping. The parking will be in the rear, so we're not adding any parking in the front that would potentially obscure your view or prevent the opportunity for people to traverse back onto Oxmoor as they currently do. So, Jennifer, if I needed to show pictures of more things, we can get to that. I don't know if I can do all that in 20 minutes time. But
Sure.
if we need
Okay.
to address it,
Next week.
we didn't really go into it much last time, and it was kind of shut down. So.
I just wanted to make sure everybody, and we'll get to
Can we go
questions,
back to
but-
the other slide real quick? There you go.
And there's a bunch of handouts of that. I have them, but listen, if that's
Yeah,
what he's
people
got.
do want to see them or have questions about those particular things.
I didn't know what those were.
But I was going to hit on the setbacks real quick, because somebody was concerned about the setbacks. So like last time I mentioned, setbacks for a residential community such as MPD are approximately 25 feet or more, depending on the neighbor. Going to an R7 would limit you to allow you to develop to a 24-foot setback. That's here. What we've done is we've had porches here so that, in essence, puts the mass of the building back here, so the transparency is maintained. We may be open to going to the 25-foot there if that's a necessity. 9-foot setback, that's part of this, where it would be 10 foot if it were NPD, as I understand it. This setback would actually be 12 feet off of the alley. We have a 5-foot easement here as well, but that's part of that 12-foot setback. It's along this side. And this really, we could, in essence, as long as we adhere to the fire coding of what we would need to do along this, a 0 setback. We're not looking to put this building at a 0 setback because we'll need room to turn cars in and park underneath these units. So that's not our plan. This one piece is set here purely to just help block that view down, which would be more of asphalt or some sort of paving surface. And the elevation changes here from, this is the high point of the lot, this is the low point of the lot. So this is a 1-story unit here to blend with some of the character of the current homes that are still remaining along Oxmoor Road, but there's not many of them left. But this is just a hint at the past of what was here, kind of hopefully the future of what's here, and then again preserve the past homes that go down Overton. Stormwater. Stormwater was brought up last time, and they talked about lot coverage and some different issues of that nature. We're going to be required to adhere to the stormwater ordinances that are in place. So we have engaged with an engineer. His name is Ben Watson. He's done a lot of detention systems in the city. We're using them on a smaller NPD residential project on another street. He looked at this and he said, I'm just going to quote him because it's easier. He says, there's plenty of room for an underground system under the rear parking area if needed. We can also provide a chamber system in the front yard to collect, drain, convey as needed. As it appears, the front yard will also drain to the rear. So what he's saying is that without doing calculations, without doing that stuff, he already has a game plan in mind for if this project does go forward.
Is that Ben Watson? I'm sorry, Watts.
Ben Watson.
W-T-S-O-N. Okay.
Yes, of Live Oak Engineering. Last meeting, like I said, touched on the aesthetics. We didn't bring that kind of information tonight. Again, the thought was we're going to use similar materials. We're going to use a mixture of brick, primarily, siding, again, for permits. Proportions will blend with and the roof slopes are going to plan to blend with some of the neighborhood aesthetics that are back in the neighborhood. There probably was some concerns of traffic or school system impact, but all I would say to that very briefly is that these are going to be 4 units, probably with single or just couples that live in and reside in these. One price point is not going to be, it's not going to be a family-friendly setup necessarily. Each of these units were intended to have an elevator. This one primarily Jenny wanted for her own personal use, and then these other 3 units would be something that I don't know if she's decided, but I think that those were going to be developed to be either sold or leased or something to someone else. The reason I say that about the traffic is because, you know, a family with 3 kids like I have that drive, you might have 4 cars already, maybe 5 cars that both parents have a vehicle. Sometimes they even have an extra vehicle. And all these vehicles are going to be hidden behind all this because there's gonna be 8 parking spots underneath this and an additional parking spot underneath that particular part of the development as well. So there'll be a total of 9 parking spots that are going to be for these units. So, and the traffic patterns will be just like everybody else's under the circumstances, because there isn't really a pathway here. This is just a 10-foot alley, but it doesn't connect to this 30-foot alley over here. If it did, it would give everyone another pathway and possibly a pathway for strollers and the things that have to traverse this kind of scary road right now. If I had a tricycle riding preschooler right here, I would be very nervous. But if this really did connect through and was a city alley right here, it probably would be advantageous to everyone. But that's not part of tonight's discussion. But I did want to point out, this is the alley. This is Mr. Shaw's home here. Mr. and Mrs. Shaw's home here.
You should just give me
So I guess we could look at the next slide. This is just going to be an existing survey, I believe. So this is Jenny's current home. It's a 1-story home, and it's cute. Nobody's going to say that it necessarily isn't, and it does blend with the rest of the neighborhood. But nobody else has Oxmoor Road right here. Nobody else has R7 along the longest property line of their home. And they have an alley here that has been disputed as to whether or not that's truly an alley or not, but I've talked to the city, even had the city attorney describe to us what an alley is, and I can read that real quick just so everybody knows for record what an alley is, and this is directly from the definitions of the zoning, and it says this is in the zoning ordinance, a public way less than width than a street, designed for the special accommodation of the property it reaches, and not intended for general travel. So general travel is main roads.
Can you say that what we can hear?
Oh, I'm sorry. It says an alley as defined in the zoning ordinance is a public way less than the width of a street, designed for the special accommodation of the property it reaches, and not intended for general travel.
Not intended for what?
General travel. But it reaches this property, and it reaches the Shaw's property, and it actually reaches the properties beyond, which is another alley, which becomes a thoroughfare basically for pedestrian, if nothing else. I think for children, because this turns where it goes from a 10-foot alley to a 30-foot alley. So there's some lost opportunities up here, but I won't talk about that today because the way that Mayfair Circle's developed, even if you look back at some of the development plans for that particular property, it looks as though a road could tie to that 30-foot alley and give people access from that property out onto Huntington and Whitehall without having to go back out onto Oxmoor, which is sometimes a very trafficked property. And it also gives smaller children and people that want to walk the neighborhood and run or do whatever they want to do with the community or connect to the community, instead of having a cul-de-sac here in the middle of basically an urban development. Seems to be silly. So anyway, again, the longest lot is right here, the one that's shared with an R7. And then you've got your alley access here. This is Oxmoor Road, which everybody's familiar with Oxmoor Road, and the C development that's all around it over here. Way past, all the way down to Our Lady of Sorrows. So we're just asking for fair treatment because of this particular property to this property that's somewhat of an island of its own, with the exception of its attachment to this R7. I mean, I can't stress it enough. It's the only shared property line is an R7. So, I mean, if it was shared with NPD, if it was shared with something else, we might have a different conversation. But I just feel as though this is shared exclusively with an R7. And then even across Oxmoor Road. And then there's this little wedge-shaped piece that's here that it doesn't have a home on it. You couldn't fit a home on it, and I don't think that there's anybody that necessarily owns that property that I could find. But this particular owner here has taken ownership of that piece, I believe. And I may be misinterpreting that, so with that, I will just add that again, this is for a different issue, of course. It's kind of my own personal issue now because I have children, and I love neighborhoods that connect to give children pathways and people safe avenues for travel. And there's this particular development, one of the citizens did stand up last time and said that he paved that alley and made it his own. So I took kind of that personal, because I feel like that's stealing from the city and stealing from the opportunities of the children in this neighborhood. And I just think of all the children on this street that want to play with the children on that street, and they have to go up here, risk their lives. I don't know that, I bet you where I grew up, my mom would have said, don't go up that road, don't go past this house, don't go up there. And that's probably what my parents would have said to me if I lived on Overton. But if they had this pathway to connect over to Whitehall and Huntington, that'd be where I could ride my bike. That's where I could go see my friend. That's where we could play in the alley right here. I mean, that's where kids can have fun. So I know it's nothing to do with her property, but again, her reason for this is an elderly population, hopefully, that can age in place here and be kind of the sentinels up here at the end of the street to help protect the people that might traverse this street. One, because of the mass of the building, the orientation of the building, materials of the building, and help drive people away from looking down into their neighborhood. It's just, if we go back to that zoning map, we can see it one more time, and I'd rather end on that than, well, let's go one more slide, because.
We've got about 20 seconds.
Okay, one more slide, because it's not my favorite slide, but Jenny did this. She spray painted this because it's her property line. She's allowed to spray paint on her own driveway. But what she was trying to point out is this is her property line. This is the alley right here. She didn't plant trees in that alley because someone had presented that she planted trees in the alley. She also said somebody told her that she parks in that alley. Those are not her vehicles. This is her vehicle. She's not here tonight. She might have had something different to say about it. Personally, I wouldn't do that. I feel like that's kind of trying to thumb your nose at somebody, but that's what she did. That washes off. It's just landscape spray. Well, I'm not in. I don't know what she used, but that's what she told me. So I'm just saying what she said to me. Could we go back to the? I know I have one. Can I have 1 minute, please? Never mind. It's okay.
Okay, well, let me see. Let me first ask if anyone on the committee or council has questions now, and then we're going to hear from the other side for 20 minutes. Do we have questions now?
Oh, this is my name, so it's fine.
Okay, anybody? Okay, thank you so much. And so I will let you all speak, and if you will sign in, I'm going to say the same thing, 20 minutes. Divide up as you see fit, as you want to do. And, you know, you can speak first and then sign in to get going, so.
Sorry.
And just really
Yeah.
quick question.
Yeah, if you'll speak up here at the front, so the cameras can see you. But don't get nervous. There's only 5 people that watch it.
Paul, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Walter.
So everybody understands, so next week we're gonna be the public
Doing
hearing.
this again.
Yes,
Everybody
I do,
understands
yes,
that
everybody
we're
understands that,
having a
we have
public
told them
hearing.
that, yes.
I'm sure she
That's
briefed
why
you
there's
on all that. I
only,
just wanted to-
Walter,
Okay.
they spoke for an hour at planning commission and then the other side.
Well, that's
spoke
what I
for-
read
So
in the
that's why
minutes,
we're
yeah,
down
I
to 20
read,
minutes,
yes.
so, yes.
Yes, okay,
Yes.
I know we only had 20 minutes, and I think we'll have some other people that want to talk to, so I'm going to try to go through this fast as I can. But my name's Jim Shaw, and I live next door to the applicant. Let me just say a couple of rebuttal things. That paint on the driveway next door to me, that was not done by a surveyor. That was done by my neighbor who did that with an orange fluorescent paint. So I just want to make that clear. Quickly here, her application for rezoning appears to be intentionally misleading, in my opinion. She claims that her parcel is isolated from NPD, surrounded by C-somethings and R-somethings, which was that's her word, not mine. It's misleading if you don't go by the property and take a look at it. And it's bordered by my property to the south, and on the west by 3100 Overton Drive. And every parcel on Overton Drive is owned NPD. So she's part of Overton Drive and part of our neighborhood. If you look at the pictures that I sent to Melody, and I guess the city council got them, you can look and see clearly that there's nothing obstructing the property between her house and mine. It's clearly, we're clearly adjacent to each other, so that shouldn't be questioned. they definitely border each other, and they're definitely both MPD. Now, we keep hearing about this alley, and I call it a paper alley. Now, it's on 1929 map, but that's a paper alley. That alley, or that driveway that I've used exclusively for 17 years is where I park, and I park there exclusively. I'm the only one that does that, and same her driveway. So at one time, there was a garage built in that driveway that's supposedly a paper alley. So the city had to, at some time, approve a garage building there.
Well, not
For the
necessarily.
previous owner.
I will say this, just like, I will say that, I think sometimes people do things without asking for permission, kind of like the person who paved the alley to become their driveway. They didn't ask for that.
Yeah.
So sometimes people do things
Well,
without
it's
asking.
been used for some, what I'm saying, it's
Yeah.
been used for something besides an alley for
Right.
decades. I spoke to some owners who live in the area, been here 60 years. For 60-plus years, that's where somebody who lives here is parked in the driveway exclusively. So, the applicant says that she should have.
I'm sorry, I just have a real quick question, Jim. Where the white car is parked, is that a parking pad that y'all added? Okay, y'all
Yes,
added a
that's
parking
parking.
pad, okay.
I added that,
Okay,
yes.
gotcha.
But, let's see, so what, 60 years has been used as a parking driveway. And, let's see, where am I? Applicant states that she should have, okay, I'm over here from my notes a little bit, but I may be doing this early, but she says that, the applicant says that, but my property faces Oxmoor Road, okay? And there's people that are R7 all the way from there, Oxmoor Road, all the way up to Piggly Wiggly. That's true. So her application says, therefore, I should be able to get R7 because I'm facing Oxmoor. Okay, then, so say she gets R7, then she's gonna turn around and say, okay, well, now that I've done this, I'm gonna face Overton Drive. And that's misleading to me. That's just misleading. Also, the architect did not show the frontage of the 4 units. The height appears to be misrepresented to a certain extent because it doesn't appear to be including the elevation drop. So just want to mention that. The architect mentioned something about spot zoning. Considering how long the parcel's been zoned in PD, together with the absence of any significant zoning changes in the surrounding property, this application does appear to be a spot zone. And spot zoning is contrary to generally accepted good zoning practices and has been referred to as illegal in some Alabama Supreme Court cases, as I've been told. I'm going to just say this briefly because someone else in our street wants to talk about it, about the permeable surface area of the parcel to the detriment of the adjoining property owners. Water flow into the streets and sewers will significantly increase, and that, I'm not going to say much more about that. We have someone else who's going to speak on that. And that's pretty much all I have. There were some new things that architect stated that I don't agree with, but one thing I want to make very clear is that driveway that I've parked in for 17 years has been parked in for 60-plus years. It has always been used as that. So I just can't see that being all of a sudden changed to public right-of-way and people start coming up and down my driveway. Where am I going to park? So anyway, I thank you for your time, and I believe Mackenzie's going to finish. Thank you.
Will you please?
And Mr.
Ms.
Shaw.
Shaw.
Oh, yes, sign in.
Yep, thank you.
All right, I'm going to go for time. Thank you, Planning and Development Committee. My name is Mackenzie Cohen. I live at 3100 Overton Drive. My family with kids faces the applicant's house on Overton Drive. Like Miss Allen, we are a corner lot where our primary street and primary facade are both Overton Drive, like Miss Allen's. Before stating my opposition, I do want to also reference that orange line was drawn by Miss Allen. It was not drawn by a licensed surveyor, so it's unofficial. Mr. Shaw has, so I want to only pull from Homewood Ordinance's words. So the Homewood zoning ordinance of an MPD is intended to recognize the historical patterns and densities of residential subdivisions and to encourage the continuation of homogeneous development patterns. My oppositions only reflect present-day ordinances. So I'm going to use the ordinance and Homewood's ordinances terms. Number 1, encouragement of continuation. Her application states for her lot to have the same opportunity of the zone behind her house. Her lot, primary address, is not a continuation of the R7 Mayfair Circle ordinance. As Mayfair Circle entered into their R7 ordinance collectively, 3101 is a continuation of Overton Drive MPD ordinance, as Overton addresses existed at the same time of the adoption of the MPD ordinance, making them a continuous zone. This approval would eliminate the continuation of homogeneous development patterns and not abide by the current definition of a zoning lot, which is when lots or parcels are continuous to each other and share the same ordinance effective date, which we do. Number 2, densities of residential subdivision. 3101 Overton Drive has always been a part of the Overton subdivision since the house was built in 1960. The current density of 3101 Overton is a single family lot zone. An R7 approval immediately changes the current density pattern of the lot in Overton Drive. 3, densities of residential subdivision. Converting an existing single home lot to an R7 immediately multiplies population density and increases traffic patterns. The intersection of Oxmoor turning into Overton is already considered a stressed street by the city, as it is defined with 2 street signs, local traffic only and children at play, to reduce traffic and slow down for children at play without sidewalks. The original intent when designing Overton was not intended to support R7 lots and traffic. In conclusion, approval of Ms. Allen's proposal only benefits Ms. Allen at the eventual destruction of MPD zoned neighborhood, in which the Planning Commission has already voted 0-7 non-approval, non-recommendation to the City Council. If approved, it creates precedent of changing from MPD zones to benefit an individual. If she can do it, I can do it, Mr. Shaw can do it, anyone adjacent to an R7 in Homewood can do it, creating a precedent and eliminating the preservation of this designated MPD continuous neighborhood and manipulating current Homewood ordinances. Within her current zone, she can age in place, she can build a new home structure that suits her needs, as most of us do when we transition into different stages of life. We would fully support any changes she needs to make within current single-family lot MPD ordinances. Thank you, and I invite Dr. Johnson to the stage.
My name is Walt Johnson. My wife Andrea and I live at 3117 Overton. It's about mid-block. We oppose this request to rezone from MPD to R7 for all the reasons my neighbors have already articulated. But I just briefly want to talk about the stormwater management. I've been interested, with all due respects to Mr. Sharansky. I'm no engineer. I'd be really fascinated to see what his engineer has proposed, but frankly, it's irrelevant. The stormwater management plan from January 2022 that I believe is the current city stormwater management plan doesn't set specific recommendations for stormwater management. It may incorporate by reference multiple documents, but my understanding is there are no specific guidelines. One specific thing I do think exists is that MPD is limited to at least a structural impervious surface area, 50% of the parcel. And there is no such restriction or constraint on R7. This current house on the property would be about, with its hardscaping, 2,700 square feet. If you add the property and the hardscaping proposed without any remediation other than subsurface retention structures, you'd have to attenuate a runoff for a 4.5-inch rainfall event, which Councilor Andrus reminded me happened twice last year. You'd have to attenuate 3,500 square feet of water. That's a swimming pool, and that's the excess amount. So I think we're all being unrealistic when we say we're going to plan for the rainwater event that we already know we have routinely. We can't attenuate it all. I think the most effective way to attenuate the stormwater issue for this parcel is to keep it zoned NPD. I'd be happy to answer questions. There are a lot of figures. I'm not an engineer. I'd love to see what the engineer proposes. But as again, I think that's irrelevant. I think we need to keep it NPD for all the reasons my neighbors have articulated. Thank you. Mr. Walden, you're up next.
Hey guys, Forrest Walden, live at 3100 Whitehall. So when you were looking at the picture of Mr. Shaw's driveway, you were actually seeing my house. I live directly behind Mr. Shaw. We've always referred to it as a paper alley. There's never been access. It's a paper alley to nowhere, so there is no access. It goes straight into some type of storm runoff creek area behind us. We actually, Mr. Shaw put a bridge and we added a gate because people do come through his yard and our driveway quite frequently, but it's not currently there. So yeah, that's my house right back there. So a couple of things. The storm runoff is a real issue. Our youngest son, Benjamin, got swept down the storm drain in Overton Park a couple years ago. And if a neighbor had not stuck a ladder down the manhole, he might not have made it. It was terrible. So real issue. He's not allowed to the park when it rains anymore. And then we just took the liberty of going around the neighborhood and just getting everybody's vote and how they felt about this, and just as a visual to show the overwhelming adverse response to this whole project that can let you know how our neighborhood feels about it and the proposed R7. And additionally, we border that R7 at Mayfair Circle, and if she can do it, then we can do it. And then you've got that issue on Whitehall as well.
And the blanks on the map are people we could not contact. It wasn't that they were poor.
I'm Mike Hubbard. I'm live on Mayfair Circle. I'm president of the Homeowners Association there. I get nervous when I talk to people.
That's okay. No nerves here.
First, I want you to know nobody on the Mayfair Circle wants that to be R7. They've all signed, and it's been sent to the city. Be sent again. Can I get the plan view of the proposed layout? Is that possible? So when Mayfair Circle was built, setbacks on both sides.
You want this pointer right here?
Oh, yeah, thanks. Setbacks on this side of the street, setbacks on the side of the street I live. I think 14 foot 5 inches was the minimum that we could build up against the property line. The way the new zoning stuff's set up, they can go to 0 right here. That puts them looking right down into the backyards of 2 of our residents. And also, I guess if this resident right here wanted to, she could do the same thing. I don't know what the building codes would say about that for fire issues, but it could be an issue. I just want to touch on 2 other things that people have mentioned. This week and prior weeks, I've spent a total of about 4 hours down here researching the records in the zoning office. When this was built, the street paved and the gutters put in for drainage, After that was done, 2 residences on Overton down in the middle of the swag flooded because that water goes into a ditch. It goes on down and goes through Overton Park. After the units were built, 2 units in Mayfair Circle flooded. Mine's one of them, and the one across the street from it flooded because of just what was talked about by water. The other thing is, I don't know how the codes were set up when this was built, when ours was built. All of our garages face Mayfair Circle Drive. All the garages face the back of this proposed building. Every time a car comes around this curve at night, there's going to be lights going in the back of these houses. All of these houses are going to have outside lighting. I know there's ordinances about outside lighting and it has to be turned off, but there's going to be cars coming in. I remember what I've read, there can be up to 9 automobiles going up and down that little back road. It's going to be a nuisance to these homeowners. This is a major issue for me personally. The other thing I just want to point out is, what if Jenny Allen gets the council to change this to R7 and sells it to some developer? Here we go again.
We've got 2 more minutes. Anyone else wants to speak?
Yeah, we got one more.
Spare time, I'll just go ahead and start. But I'm Jeremy Berman. I'm 3106 Overton Drive, so about catty corner to this development. And I was going to refer the committee to the definition of an alley. He already did that for me, and he said a public way less than within a street designed for the special accommodation of the property reaches and not intended for general travel. That's the definition of the alley from the Homewood ordinance, and I would specify it's a public way, which, as you've seen, in this day and age, it is not. And I guess I would also like to appreciate the fact that the arguments that was made at the last committee meeting, none of those showed up in this speech. Using 1923 maps, calling it age and place. We didn't hear anything about that in this time. So I think that just points to the misleading that's going on here, and that they are trying to tailor the argument to make it seem most likely when that's not the original plan. So everything else I have to say pretty much has already been said, except actually, I'm sorry, one last thing would be, despite the fact that she is claiming to not be a part of Overton Drive on the new development, the drive would still be on Overton Drive, as would the mailboxes. So I assume the addresses would still be Overton Drive, and not Archmore Road if the new development were to pass. So that is all I have to say. I guess we're probably out of time anyway. So.
Yeah, it's perfect time.
All right.
Yeah, if you will sign in, and thank you all. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, we do have a public hearing set for next Monday night at 6 o'clock in the chambers next door. So I would entertain a motion to send out without recommendation for that public hearing.
Ms. Danvers?
Yes.
Could I get up just for a second to just, because this happened last time where I did my presentation and then they rebuffed a lot of the things that were presented with information that seemed factual information, but maybe isn't. So I didn't know if I could have just a few seconds or minutes to at least comment on some of them. Some of them dealing with the stormwater and impervious nature of the coding.
I'd say I would wait. I would say let's wait for next week for that.
Okay.
If you will, I'd say let's wait for next week for that. Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna. You are not going to be under a time limit next week. I would presume.
Okay.
It
Maybe not.
Yeah,
President White.
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
I expect that there will be some time limits next week, but certainly the applicant will be given the chance to respond
Yeah, I'd say
to questions that come up, but I do think we will try to
tonight's
move
more of a presentation.
expeditiously next week.
Next week is the real deal.
Okay.
So that being said,
I make a motion to send out without recommendation pending the public hearing.
Okay, so I have a motion from Councilor Sims, a second from Councilor Mills. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
You're still forward, right?
Yeah, 4.
Okay.
Okay, that passes 4-0, and we will see everybody next week. Next door at 6 o'clock. Okay, new business, 040123, public hearing set for February 13th, 2023 at 6 p.m. for consideration of rezone 2900 16th Place South from R5 attached dwelling unit district to an NPD neighborhood preservation district. The applicant is Johnny Gossett, owner Bonnie O'Bannon, to permit construction of a new single-family house. Planning Commission had a vote of 7-0 for a favorable recommendation. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, so this, exactly what you said, I'm gonna turn it over to Jason Hale, who is the home builder. You'll speak to this, I'm sure, but the city recently condemned this property. So,
Thanks. Just glad that wasn't about me.
You're the opposite.
You're the exact opposite of what that is. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That was.
Oh, baby.
Wait, that was.
Just finished it. We're putting it on the market soon.
So that was zoned R5. Is it
Yes.
because it's adjacent to the
guess.
apartments? I guess.
Yeah, I don't really.
Well, no, I mean I could always see it, but I just wonder. I didn't know it was zoned that way. I guess because it's next to those apartments.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It is weird.
That is weird.
So
and there's another parcel
correct
adjacent to it that's also R5.
Yep.
Is that behind where the
It's not
garage used to
included
be?
in this, but it probably.
So they're
Where the
yeah
garage
they're gonna deed. So what's going on? Johnny's not in here. I don't see him. I just met Johnny, but anyway, Johnny got to know Mrs. Homeowner, and I think he thought he was gonna renovate it. I think that he realized that wasn't a good idea. He called us, and I said, "Well, I've actually wanted that property for years, so I live nearby this." And I found out they also own a little sliver of land on the other side of it. They're going to deed it over, but I didn't need to redo all of this because I'm kind of going forward, not needing that little tiny sliver, and it could be thrown in and maybe rezoned or something in the future. But for what we're trying to do, I'm happy just dealing with the piece of property that is in discussion today. We had a survey done, realized what it was zoned. The setbacks on that cause a lot of issues. Because it is an odd shaped property, it starts slimming as it goes that way quite a bit. And the setbacks, quite frankly, are different than MPD. I think they're like 35 and maybe 15 side or something like that. Whereas MPD on this would be roughly 25 front, which is this side over here. And this is a wider lot, so it would be 10 and 10. Which becomes important as you get back here in this area where it really crosses towards this street and gets thins out. So, quite frankly, it should be MPD. I don't even know why it's R5. We want to build a single family residence. Seems kind of straightforward. I think everybody I've talked to is in favor of it. And that's really it.
Jason, does the house? I don't know. I can't tell from that house. Yeah, does it orient to Somerset?
It orients to the blue house way up there.
Okay,
Yeah.
it faces. It's the front door
that's
technically.
That's the front
Okay.
here, and this is the side,
Okay.
and then we just finished the 3 houses.
Yeah, right there.
Right
across.
there, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, that one's finished now. So.
And is that considered a street, or is that just the driveway from the apartments?
It's an alley.
What's the definition of an alley,
I
Walter?
don't really know what it is.
I'd like
I
you
don't
to
know what
recite that
this
for me,
is.
please.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's all kind of weird.
I guess
right
it's a
there.
street.
Yeah, I guess.
So
Well, I
it
guess that is a
runs on
street.
that alley
sign right there.
street?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we plan to put parking
I was like, really?
probably down here, down that way.
Back where the old the old garage was.
Yeah,
Is it all grown up around there and you couldn't see it?
It was. I think the city
Yeah, we cleaned it
required
out.
it to be cleared out.
We didn't require it. We did it.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah, and then
Pay that lien off
the
already?
city was supposed to demolish it, but I think it's on hold pending kind of all this, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but have you closed on it yet? Have you purchased
No,
it?
mine's all subject to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yay.
Because I don't want it if it's
If it,
already.
yeah, right.
Just to be honest.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Contingent,
listen,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that you are doing it that way, because we have a lot of people who do it the opposite way, and then they can't get it rezoned,
Yeah.
and then they're stuck with something that they can't rezone.
10 years in Homewood doing this, you
You
do
kind of learn a
one or
few
two
tricks,
things,
yeah. We appreciate that.
Anybody have any questions?
I make a recommendation to send it out, or no, wait.
Yeah.
Motion
Yes, without
to Send it
recommendation.
out without recommendation,
Second.
pending the public hearing.
That's
Sorry,
right.
guys.
All right, motion from Counselor Sims?
Second.
Second from Counselor Wilverton. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that passes 4-0. Okay, we'll see you on the 13th at 6 o'clock next door.
13th.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You want to come the same night that they're.
No,
Not
it's
the
not.
same. All
Yeah, I
right,
think
without
that'd be the
objection,
first on the
then we are
docket.
adjourned.
It's not the same night as the
All right,
other one.
thank you all.
Yeah.